and welcome to another episode of the Screen Chronicles. I'm Steve. With me as always is Colby. If you're listening to our episode here, you probably know our guest today as Sigefrid from The Last Kingdom, specifically Season 2, the Lord of Chaos. Today we have Björn Bengtsson on the show.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on today. How are you doing today, Björn?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. It's crazy times, of course. I'm not much happening at the moment. Worldwide, but I'm happy to be healthy, and my daughter's healthy, so we're all happy here. How are you guys? Are you good?
We're doing well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
great.
Just
great.
trying to keep busy, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you do during the day to keep yourself busy?
Well, I'm working out, and I'm working on different projects. Which one of them I'm writing a show. We're trying to make it happen in Sweden, but we're waiting for the green light. So I've been working really hard with that for maybe a year and a half. So it's still like it's a lot of people who wants to think about it and just read it and give some notes to it. So we're trying to rewrite stuff, but we're waiting. And because of the COVID, everything is on hold. So we're just waiting it out for an answer, you know.
Can you tell us anything about that show yet? If not, it's cool. If not, it's cool.
It's about an enforcer and his daughter, and it's a family-based drama on how criminality changes the situation for a family. Shortly.
Do you play the enforcer by any chance, or do you just write?
That is the thought. Yeah.
Okay. Because we know you play a pretty good enforcer from what we've seen so far.
Yeah. But this is more like family-based drama with him not seeing his daughter for maybe 8 years. She's trying to get in contact with him again and just try to understand why he just left her when she was 12 years old. And now she has a baby by herself, and she's just trying to get the dots. She's just trying to understand why she was left alone and why he hadn't contacted her in all those years. And there's obviously a reason for that, but we will find out what it is.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us a little bit about how you got into acting.
To be honest with you, I studied French in school, and I sucked at it. Really, really bad. And then there was this opportunity when I was in school to stop doing French and do theater instead. So I gave up French and just to get off French and just like, okay, I can do theater or whatever. And this teacher I had was really, really great, and she thought I should just continue doing it. And she started to work on a theater project. So she asked me to come to work for them. And I found out I had some talent for it, and I thought it was fun. So after that, I started to go to schools, and I did theater schools and stuff like that. But it was just like a fluke. It was just like, it wasn't nothing I planned, nothing I wanted when I was a kid. It just like, I just suddenly happened to be there. Yeah?
What did you want to be as a kid?
Journalist and fireman or a policeman. Or mostly a rock star or a football pro. You know, it's just like basic kid's dream.
We do see you have some musical talent, though. We were just watching your video with Christian, where you're singing, the brother, don't do this.
Sounds like Wicked Game a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been stuck in our head.
It's stuck in our head. We can't get it out. That's cool.
I'm not playing anymore, but it was a dream as a kid, and it was still like every actor, I think, in some way wants to be a rock star. Yeah. It's just like they're not good enough singing, so they end up with acting instead. You know?
What kind of music are you into?
Nowadays, mostly. I mean, when back in the days, was just rock and roll. But nowadays it's more like chill hop, just like groovy, ambient, lo-fi, just like
Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
Well, you have had a little success in a way in the music world, I think. And we talked to Jeppe about this as well. You recorded a song for Moana, or I think it's Vaiana, for you guys.
Yeah.
And I got to ask this because Jeppe said that it took him 2 hours and that it took The Rock 2 weeks to record that song. And not that it's a competition, but how long did it take you to record the song?
Jesus, can't remember. I know Jeppe and I, we were actually shooting The Last King at the same time. We were doing the dubbing for the Vaiana thing. So we talked about it. I think I did the song for a day. I mean, how long did he do it?
He said 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay, he was faster than me then. Maybe he's a better singer than me.
But you're both faster than The Rock.
Yeah.
And if Jeppe is the Norwegian The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you're the Swedish one, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How long did The Rock take then?
He said 2 weeks. It took The Rock 2 weeks.
He was 2 weeks. Okay, he was going 2 weeks. Okay, no, I was faster than that. I was.
There you go.
There you go.
But I would also say that your character in The Last Kingdom is pretty metal as far as that Viking character goes.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with The Last Kingdom?
Actually, I was supposed to do an audition for the first season, but everything was just like there was some other projects doing at the same time for me. So I wasn't really capable of doing it anyway. So I just turned it down to do the audition for it or the self-tape for it. So then it came back for the second season, and I read a part of the. I read some parts for the character, and I thought it was a more interesting character than the first season, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I decided to do the audition, talk to my English agents about it, and I said I really want to do this because this is one of the characters I think I know how to do. Because as an actor, some parts are just like you feel like they're glued to you. You know, they just fit you like a glove. And I thought when I read the small scenes with Sigefrid, I found him to be mental, be chaotic, deranged, just like, and as a kid as well. I mean, he looked at battle with a kid's eyes, you know, like it was just like fun games for him. Yeah. He was like a Viking psychopath in some ways, and his brother was the brain. So I found him very intriguing. I found the character very interesting. So I auditioned for it, and then I got the part. Then I watched the first season because I hadn't watched the first season yet, and I really liked the show. I found it. I like Vikings as well, but I found The Lost Kingdom a little bit more honest in some ways, a little bit more historical. A little more like this is the story of how England became England without the groovy movie stuff, just like a more drama-based story. So I was really, really happy to get on board when it was decided.
That's cool. It's interesting you say that because we just talked to Christian Hilborg the other day, who plays Eric, for anybody who doesn't know. And he said the same thing about his role with Eric, that it just fit like a glove. So it's interesting you use that phrase here.
And the fun thing when my agent called me, and maybe Christian told you this before, but when he said that there's another Swedish guy who wants you to do the self-tape, the second tryout with, and his name is Christian. And I was just like, okay, it's Christian. I know what that is. So it was so great to do this thing with him because we're friends. And to be able to work in that kind of relationship like the brothers have, it was easier in a way to know the guy before, you know, because we were friends and we could just and we were Swedish people. I mean, it would be easy if we were a Norwegian guy as well, but as friends to work, as brothers, to know each other from before, we had a lot of things to go back to and just work our way through to get because those brothers, they really love each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of when I read the book, that was one thing I wanted to take into when we did the series, that these guys they really, really love each other. So the betrayal at the ending, it is heartbreaking for them both. I mean,
and for all of us.
Yeah, for all of you guys, yeah.
Yeah, your guys' arc is what really makes season 2 for us. I mean, at least for me, my favorite season is season 2.
Me too.
Especially
the second half.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I bet you know this, but I mean, every season is maybe 2 books, or at least it wasn't in the beginning. I mean, so the first 4 episodes, we weren't. I mean, our story starts in the 5th episode, to be actually
pretty much right.
But when we talked to the producers and directors and writers, they found maybe we could start them in the episode 1 to 4 as well, just to get the arc a little bit more vivid, you know. So, but it wasn't decided in the beginning that we should do all 8. It was first just from the 5th until the 8th. But I really think it helped our characters and the story for the brothers to be all 8 episodes.
Yeah, you definitely get to see from the very first episode their dynamic, who's the more level-headed one, who's the more rage-filled one, headbutts the priest there.
I mean the first 4 episodes is just like prologue for the story, you know. I mean, you get a presentation from them. You found out that the one guy is mental and one guy is more rational and thinking. And when the story starts, you already know these brothers, but you don't know. But then the drama between them starts, and I think that's a really good setup for them. You know,
we definitely weren't expecting the season 2, the second half of it, to go that direction. After the battle at Dunholm, we were just kind of like, oh, what are they going to do for the rest of this? And it took off. It was really great.
Thanks. Yeah. Because as in the book, I mean, Sigefrid isn't his arm. I don't think his arm is chopped off by Uhtred in the like in the series for the 4th episode. That is a writing thing. But I think it worked really great, because then all the revenge mode for Sigefrid is you can understand him, because this guy took his arm off. And so I think it worked in a really good way. I'm very happy for it. So.
Yeah, and you guys have that scene to emphasize that, where you and Eric are talking by yourselves, and you're just talking about how the pain is constant. Yeah, and that's just kind of, you know, makes us think like, wow, he's always thinking about like his revenge against Uhtred, you know, because that pain is always with him. You know, so it was,
you know, funny thing you brought that up, because that was actually when we read the 4, 5, 6, 7 those episodes, we thought with the director Jamie Donahue that there was something lacking between the brothers. So this scene was actually a scene that came in late. It wasn't in the original script. We all 3 thought there should be something that you can really understand the problem between the brothers. And also it's like it's a bonding scene, because this is the scene where you find out these guys, they really care for each other. Eric really cared for his brother. I mean, how's the pain? It's constant. And you can understand that Sigefrid is really craving for the revenge on Uhtred. And the plan is set. But it was very important. I think of all the scenes we've done, I think that is the most important scene to understand why it just turned out the way it turned out.
And it stood out. I mean, that scene totally stands out. So it's amazing to think about. They almost, you know, they didn't originally plan for it, because it does seem like a crucial scene to build that relationship.
We always talk about our favorite bro moments in the show. There's a lot of moments between Uhtred and his main group of guys, or, you know, brotherly moments. But I think that one between you and Eric, they really took our bro moment, I think, for that episode.
Totally.
Great. Maybe the producers and writers were thinking about it at the same time, but we talked to Jamie about it. So I don't want to like blow my own horn.
Right.
Like, but we talked with Jamie about it, because there was something lacking to get the story of the brothers kicking off. We needed some moment in the beginning of the 6th episode. I think it's in the 6th episode, where you understand this is the plan, this is the love, this is the quest, and then everything changes when he meets Ethelred. But I found that scene very, very important to get the arc kicking off, you know.
Totally.
So I'm very happy you liked it.
Yeah, and another one where you can see like the brotherly love actually is how hurt you look when you come back into that burning hall to find Eric trying to save Ethelfled, and the pain on your face, man. It was like, to see what your brother's doing. You nailed that scene. You nailed that scene.
No, thanks, thanks, bro. Thanks.
Brother, don't do this to me.
Could you talk to us a little bit about your approach to that epic fight scene that you had with Eric?
In the end.
In the end, yeah.
We practiced really, really hard for that one. It was fire, and there was like battling with axe and the dagger and the sword and everything. And then the whole ending scene, me killing him and breaking down. Our problem was, I mean, am I supposed to kill him because I want to kill him, or am I defending myself because he's raging? And that was a discussion moment for us when we were doing the fight scene, because if I'm supposed to kill him because of the betrayal, that's kind of odd, because he's my brother. So it had to be in some way an accident. It wasn't supposed to go that way. I mean, I was trying just to disarm him, but then I accidentally killed him. So we were talking about that, and I found the stunt coordinator, Levin, and did a great job in just like staging the fight in that way. This wasn't meant to go that way. This was just meant to be disarming him, put him right again. This is the quest, my brother. But accidentally I killed him. And I realized when I killed him, this is the end for me as well, because without my brother, I cannot live. So towards the end battle, I mean, Sigefrid's just given up. He's going to die in battle. He doesn't give a shit. I mean, if he can kill Ethelred, that's okay, but he wants to die. I mean, this is the end. There's no way. And I find that really heartbreaking moment for the brothers, because one can't live without the other. I mean, they were a team. So when he dies, life is over. I'm just waiting waiting for Valhalla.
It tears your heart out.
I really like to do the scene where Jeppe and I came up from the woods just prior for the battle, where Sigefrid says, "It's today," something like that.
It will be today.
It will be today. Yeah. I found that really like epic. I mean, just when I got the script and they wrote that line, it was like, this is a fucking great line.
Yeah.
It will be today. I mean, it will be today. Everything is just set.
You do a little look up toward the sky, and you nailed it, man.
I just really like the scene, and I'm happy you think I nailed it as well. But I really like the scene. It was so well written. It was so well played out from the photographer and the director, and with the fire in the background and all these. I mean, just prior for the battle, just prior for the end. And I found that scene, when I think about the thing I did during the shooting, that was one of my moments. I just like, oh, Jesus Christ. To be an actor, to have the opportunity to just do a scene like that, it was just like, for me, really, really great.
Yeah, it's a very unique scene out of any show you can think of, really. But that's pretty awesome. Now when you fight on the show, it is raw. I mean, it like, we worry for the other actors sometimes because it's just like, it looks so real. What kind of fighting experience did you have before coming on the show?
I've done a lot of martial arts in fact. I've done some judo and some boxing and stuff like that. And I think that helped me a bit. And I've done in Sweden, I've done a lot of fighting scenes as well during the years. Mm-hmm. So not with swords and stuff, but just with fists. But I think the martial arts techniques help you in a way to understand how your body works. I mean, it's like dancing in some ways, if you understand what I'm saying. It's just like, it's a choreography, and you have to be able to just learn the movements, because it's a dance with the other one,
with the other person,
the one you're fighting with. So I think that helped me a lot during these shooting, just the martial art experience.
Cool. So one of the first times we see you fight is actually in your tent with Uhtred. And
yeah, that was an exhausting fight. I mean,
oh, yeah?
I thought it was an exhausting fight. We were shooting that for, I think, maybe 6 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was like, and I'm like 47 years old. Alex is younger than me. And he was just like, "Are you okay, mate?" "Yeah, but I'm 47. I'm dying here." And he was just like, "Okay, let's go again." And I was just like, "Jesus Christ, oh, fuck me."
Wow.
It was a great brawl though between the two of you.
But I think it worked out great, and he's a great fighter. You know, I love to work with Alex. He knows how to fight. He's done so much stunt during the years, and it was just an absolute joy to work with him.
Also, kind of Uhtred, man. Let the guy finish peeing before you go and attack him too, because.
Yeah, where's your manners, man?
Yeah. And after you do say your line, it will be today. Could you tell us what it was like to film that battle, especially at night? It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was like a week's shooting for that whole fighting scene. Maybe more, maybe 10 days or so. So it was like it was a lot of people. I mean, I think the stunt coordinator, they did an absolute amazing job. You know, to put everything in motion, to find all the situations between Uhtred and the revenge for Uhtred and Sigefrid, the challenge between them, and then Sigefrid's just quest of killing Athelred because she was the reason my brother died. It was night shooting for 8 or 9 days, and it just wears you down, you know.
Yeah.
Just like, and you put on makeup. For my makeup, I was in the makeup room for 5 hours every single day, and it was like 1.5 hours to take it off. So it was like 6.5 hours work before the work actually. 5 hours before the work actually started, and then 1.5 hour after just to take it off because of the burning, you know. Because
right.
Of the,
right.
It was a bit tiring, to be honest with you, but I was happy to do it though. But it was a bit tiring.
It looks like you just, you as an actor go all out in those scenes. Like I said before, it just seems so raw. So I can imagine that would be pretty exhausting, especially with Alex wanting to do it over and over again too.
Yeah, but I really like. I really like to do those kinds. I mean, fighting scenes. I think. They are really, really great. They are fun to do. I mean, if you find someone that you can dance with, that you really can work with, it's very. You can just get into it. You can just like pound away because you know this guy can take it, and he will have the sword there to block it because otherwise his head would be chopped off. To be honest, I don't know if Christian told you this, but when we were doing the fights with Christian and I, we couldn't get it right. You know, it was just like we couldn't get it in. You know, and then the director said, "Okay, you have one more shot. That's it, because we got to move further." And Christian was just like, "Fuck you." So when he struck that sword against my head, if I hadn't been there with my sword, he would have shot my head off. To be honest with you,
he did tell us he was getting frustrated with. He felt like he couldn't get it right, is what he told us.
He was so freaking frustrated. So I mean,
oh my God,
there was real fire in that room too that you guys were fighting in, right? Too. That's what he was telling us. It was just the whole atmosphere, and his frustration was just coming out on you. He said.
Yeah. I'm lucky I had the sword just to block it, because otherwise I've been just like no head nowadays.
So you talk about being in the makeup department for a while. Could you tell us a little bit more about what went into your look? Because you have a great Viking look in the show. Did you bring any of that to the table, or did they kind of come up with all those ideas? Or
no, we worked it through.
Cool.
Brilliant makeup artists. We had like a meeting for maybe 5 or 6 hours just to find the look of him. I wanted to be because I saw this character Sven Tveskägg. He's a Nordic Viking for real, and he had like a beard into I don't know how you call it, braids or something like that. So I wanted that look, and we hadn't decided with the hair yet, but we found out. So we worked our way through it, all of us. My thing was to get the beard, because none of the other actors I've seen in the show until that date, or in Vikings, as I can remember, had that kind of look. So I found that to be, it worked really good for Sigefrid. And that's why the makeup was like so long, because they had to glue beard for 2 hours on my face. So it was like, she was very, very patient, the girl who did the beard. She worked with a beard every day for 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Something like that. I actually learned how to fall asleep during the makeup sessions.
Really?
So I was laying down. She glued the beard. I was sleeping for an hour and 1.5 hours. And she woke me up and she said, "Okay, the beard is all done." Okay, great, thanks.
Did that thing get itchy?
Yeah, it was kind of itchy. But, I mean, you can't complain doing such a thing. I mean, you're paid for it. I mean, this is like a dream come true. I mean, just to have the opportunity to do such a character, you can't complain about itching in your face.
Yeah.
It's just like swallow it and just get into it, you know?
Yeah, and you just know you look epic too, so.
Yeah. What about horse riding? Was that something you had experience in before as well?
A little bit. I was approached in Sweden a couple of years before this to do it was some stupid name called Stars Are Riding Horses in some ways. It was an exhibition thing, and the thing was they were reaching out to people who haven't been on a horse before in their life, and I was one of them. So I practiced to do that show. I mean, it was just like an exhibition thing. So I had some horse experience before, but I worked out. I have a friend who has horses, and I worked with her, and then we had some practice when we got down to Budapest as well. Thank God, because then I did Robin Hood after this with Jamie Foxx, and there was a lot of horse riding, and I'm very happy for the experience with horse riding in The Lost Kingdom, because that helped me a lot in Robin Hood.
Totally. And you do, there's times Sigefrid like falls off his horse and stuff like that. Obviously when you break through the shield wall, do you do any of your own stunts in the show, or do they? Those are pretty epic ones.
I didn't. I mean, 11, the stunt coordinator, it was very because there had been some issues with they're horses, they're animals, they're unpredictable.
Yeah.
So he was very. I mean, and as an actor, if you're injured and everything goes to stop, it's just like can't happen. So I didn't do the. I mean, when he breaks through the shield wall, I wanted to do some of the stunts, but I weren't allowed to. So, but when they're pulling me down the horse, of course, that's me. But it's all very secure and very safe. So, and it has to be like that, because otherwise people will get injured, and then the whole shooting stops, and then it's just like financial crisis project.
Totally. So another two of our favorite scenes from the show is more of a comedic sort of Dane moments. We really love the Danes in the show because they have great humor and how ferocious they are. But the first time we really get to see Sigefrid and his humor and like ferocity in combination is the scene at London when you're trying to figure out how does crucifixion kill a man, and you're just like,
it's a man of science.
It's a man of science there. This is work.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Stephen when we had the gathering for the first shooting. The writer Stephen, the producer.
Yeah.
And I have read the book by then, and I was just like, the scene with the crucifixion, that's an amazing scene, mate. We have to do something about that. And because it's just so much, that is Sigefrid. He's just like a kid. He's just like trying to understand how does one die during crucifixion? I mean, how is that even possible? Because, I mean, why? I mean, just a nail through your hands and you just die. And I find that in Sigefrid's character, that is the unpredictable thing about him. He can be joyful, he can be happy, humorous, and then suddenly he can just turn around and be just like lethal, and just like psychopath. And that is, so I think for me that scene was really, really fun. And also when I'm telling Bolton, the guy is saying we need to be entertained, and when he loses the fight, just kills him.
Yeah.
It's just like waste him.
And then we think you're going to kill Purelig but you offer him a job.
Yeah. yeah. But that whole sequence was really fun doing. I mean, and I thought it worked out really good as well.
And it really reminded us a little bit too of from season 1. Ubbo was like our favorite Dane from season 1, and the same way he was very curious about the man who was shot with arrows, about how he was wondering, how that worked. And that
is a great scene as well.
Yeah,
that is a really good scene.
And then you kind of carry that torch into season 2, kind of doing something different, but at the same time with that kind of thread that we loved. It was very cool.
Yeah, great. But it's also like the Christianity about it, because the Vikings were like they were Vikings. I mean, they were killing people. They were, in a Viking way, they were fighting towards death. I mean, death penalty wasn't something. I mean, you executed people by chopping their heads off, or just like killing them. Yeah. But to kill people in a slow and painful way, that was not the Viking thing to do. I mean, that was a Christian thing to do,
right?
To repent for your sins, and that is the historical thing about that situation and that scene. I mean, how Vikings were looking upon why crucify a person? Why not just like kill him?
Yeah.
What's the deal? I mean, how does it kill someone? Yeah. So I think that is also, in a historical way, very interesting for people with this show. To understand the differences between the Christians and the Vikings.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It's one of our favorite things about the show is you get to see the Saxons, how they're looking at the Danes and how they're perceiving, oh, that's barbaric and awful. And then the Vikings and vice versa, it's the same thing. And that's a real staple, that scene there.
Right. Exactly.
One thing I think's interesting about that too is that when the Christians look at the Dane gods, they're just discrediting them,
Yeah,
but with the Danes being like polytheistic, they are looking, they're like, their God is with them, or they're like, how does their God work? It's like their God is there, we have ours. I think that's kind of an interesting thing too.
True. I mean, I think in the whole show they are really trying to understand who is the Christian God. I mean, what does he do? What is his purpose? I mean, why does he want to crucify people? I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, who is your God? I think in the first season, there's even more to that. I mean, Ubba trying to understand who this God really is, the Christian God. And it's very, I found it very interesting because as you said, the Saxons are just like, we don't give a shit about your gods. How many gods do you have? I mean, Thor, Odin, I mean, we have one. Yeah. And but for the Viking people, the gods were really important. I mean, they were really praying to Thor in every battle, Odin for wisdom, Freya for birth. I mean, it was really, really important to them. So it was really strange for the Viking people to just have one God. Who is this one God who can do everything? I think that is the differences between them.
Yeah, totally. And the show captures that so well. I think another moment in season 1 where that comes through is when Guthrum is like, their God is with them. And he changes sides just because he saw how the battle went, So the show does a great job of that. You mentioned about how you wanted to portray Sigefrid in a way that he can be kind of joking around and then just on a dime chaos or just ballistic. And one moment that I really like that you do is during that kind of bargaining scene with Uhtred, where you're trying to talk about the price. And about Ethelfled. And you, you're laughing. You're like, no, that's too low. And then they're like, it's a good price. And you get up and you're like, you insult me. That was awesome scene.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That was also a great scene to do. I mean, for me, that was the scene, the whole situation prior to that scene when when I'm calling, I can't remember his name. Waylon, I'm calling Waylon just to hit him. That's also one of the scenes where when I wanted to work with the humoristic side with Sigefrid, turning into the cold-hearted bargain, because that was the situation with Uhtred in that bargain scene. It's more like, now you are under me. you are dancing along after I mean, I can do whatever I want to. I can kill her. You have to. This is like for him, the revenge moment. Yeah. So, but it would be a little bit more boring if it just would be him doing like, I'm dangerous. I can have you by the throat. I think it adds a bit to him when he's just like joyful in the beginning. You should have joined us. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I found that helped me working with Sigefrid a lot. Just trying to find the comedy stuff about him so I can be badder when I'm bad. You know what I mean?
Kind of that contrast.
Because because you could do Sigefrid just like a bad guy all the time. For me, he would be a bit boring. He would be just like, yeah, okay, he's a bad guy. Yeah, we know that. But to make him likable, to make him, even though he kills his brother, to make him, because he's the antagonist of the show. I mean, especially in the second half. Yeah. To make people like him a little bit, it helps you to work to be mean, to be bad in some ways, I think. So I really wanted to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the reasons we really like the Danes, is they're not just stereotypical, ooh, bad, evil, I'll get up in your face.
Right.
They have that humor, that sort of like stage presence, you know, when you're calling for Waylon to come and hit this man.
It's
a great scene.
Say shortly after that scene happens, after you guys barter, we just talked to James Northcote, who was also filming with you guys there, and he told us a pretty funny story about when Ethelred wakes up naked in the pig pen, when Toby Regbo wakes up naked and having to run back and forth naked a bunch of times. Do you remember doing that? Was that?
Yeah.
Was that a funny time?
I remember Toby being. I remember Toby complaining about it was so cold. But it was. We were shooting that in November.
Oh, really?
And in Budapest in November is pretty cold. And also in that scene, because when he gets back, everything is set. I mean.
Right.
And the joy for Sigefrid when he comes back, it's just like, sit down, you should sit next to me, have a beer, have some meat. And it's just like him, this is his best moment in the whole show. He just won. And it's just before the end. And it's just like, everything is set, we got it all made. And then just minutes later, everything goes to dust.
I love that too, how you guys can, you know, be enemies when you guys show up. You have to barter. You're not happy with each other, but when you come to a deal, and even though you have plans to wipe them all out later, you guys can have a good time and party for that night and and just enjoy it.
Yeah, it's
love
fun.
that about the Viking culture. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. So, did you have like any passion for learning about Vikings or anything before the show?
To be honest with you, no. I mean, no. When all this Viking stuff started, I mean, it must be like 10 years ago or something like that with the Vikings.
The show.
I mean, there hadn't been anything with the Vikings prior to that. I mean, it was absolutely a new thing for when Vikings started, and then of course this is the Nordic history, mostly for the Danes and the Norsemen, because they were the one going to England. I mean, the Swedish Vikings were going to Russia. So I studied a bit about it, but I wasn't into the Vikings before The Last Kingdom.
Gotcha.
No, I wasn't.
Gotcha. What else did you do to get ready for the role before you apprised it?
I read the book because I wanted to find out more about, because it's such a, I mean, if there is a book, you can always find more stuff about the character in the book than you can do in the actual show.
Right.
Or in the actual script. You can add some stuff to him. So I read the book, and I was working on the look. I mean, as we talked before about the makeup, that was very important, because he had to look very strong and very fierce and very, but also, so to find a costume, which I adore, I love the costume Sigefrid wearing, and the makeup, that is so masculine, so male. It's just like, so to be able to just work him up a little bit with the humor and stuff like that, it added the complexity about it. So I worked with the makeup department and the costume department a lot, just to talk to them about my feelings about the character. And then, of course, the horse riding. And but that was it's always like that. You have to go down to the script to find out where you can put those moments in to create such a character.
Cool. So you mentioned feeling kind of related, or Sigefrid kind of fit you as like a glove. What kind of things do you love about Sigefrid?
I can relate to, get me right now, I can relate to the people who are outsiders in some ways. I mean, who are the bad guys. I've done a lot of bad guys in Sweden too, in series and TV shows or in movies. And I can relate to them. I have friends who've gone another way in life, not on the, I mean, who were criminals, and to be an outsider in society. So when it comes to people who are a little bit fucked up mentally, I can relate to that. So when this character came along, I felt like this is a character I can work around. I can understand his motivations. I can understand his love with his brother. It just inspired me because I felt in the book, and as Stephen wrote it, I thought there was such an impact on him. I thought this character would make a mark, and I thought, like you said, the arch of the brothers. It's absolutely heartbreaking and fascinating towards the end when it all goes to dust. It's just like a beautiful story about Romeo and Juliet, something between two brothers. I mean, they had all made, everything is just set up, but it all because of love, it just falls apart like a good drama should be. Totally. So, what was the question? Me preparing for the part.
Characteristics that you loved about Sigefrid, and I think you answered.
I loved it about just his being unpredictable, and the vengeance, and the way he loves his brother. So I found that very interesting.
Do you have any siblings? Were you able to draw any of that from any like sibling relationships that you have?
I have two brothers. I have two. One who's 4 years younger than me, and one who's 13 years younger. And we're really close as well. So it helped me a bit too. And as I said before, it helped me as well with me being friends with Christian before this, because we knew each other. So it was really, and also like it was really nice having a friend to work with, your good friend on set. It's absolute joy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any challenges when it came to playing Sigefrid?
It's always a challenge. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, you know? You don't want to overact it. There's always that feeling when you want to be, with such a character, you can't be that subtle, you know? You have to make a statement, because if he's too subtle, he's just like nothing. But then again, if you add some anger and some characteristic things about him, it's close to overacting it. You know what I'm saying?
True, I could see that. Yeah.
So the quest for me was to be on that exact spot, to choose when to go over the top and then choose to pull him back.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because otherwise it would be a character. I don't know the word, caricature.
Caricature.
No, not
caricature.
Caricature, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't relate to him. So you had to be on that. That was the challenge for me, not to be too subtle, but not to be too overacting as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, it could definitely be a challenge. I can see that. Now, we asked this to Christian the other day, and I want to ask you, Sigefrid gets to Valhalla, after dying in battle. What's the first thing you say to your brother when you get there?
You fucked up, mate. Yeah, that would pretty much be it. we were this close.
I know you were,
brother. And you just fucked it up.
Yeah.
I think he said, what took you so long was his answer.
Yeah.
That's very cool. That was very, very cool.
He's a great guy. Did you have a good conversation with him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was really fun, much like this one, but it was definitely a lot of fun. So yeah, tell us a little bit about some of your other passions outside of acting. And we talked a little bit about music earlier, but do you have any other passions?
I like writing. I like to be in the beginning of a project. I like to, the recent years I've been starting up like this with the Enforcer. I'm very interested in just like being the starting point of a show, to be able to work the storyline out, to be able to work to be in the starting point of a character, to make him believable and to make him a human being. So that is job, but job is a passion.
Totally.
Apart from that, I'm working out. I'm actually I'm actually doing a golf course this Saturday, just to try to see if that is something. Because nowadays everything is just like put on hold. You need to be busy. Just do something. So
will that be your first time?
That's my first time. Yeah.
Cool. I don't.
You guys play golf? You play golf? No.
I hit some holes one time and I'm terrible. I'm awful.
It's not a Viking thing to do.
No, it's not a Viking. I played baseball and I thought going to hit a golf ball would be easy because I'm used to hitting things off a tee. I swung and missed over and over again.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, have Saturday 6 hours and then I'll see if there's something in it for me, or it's just like, okay, never again. This was it. I'm not doing it anymore.
What are your workouts like? Is it a lot of boxing training we see, or you do like weightlifting, or what do you do?
It's mostly CrossFit, to be honest with you.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
CrossFit and wrestling and boxing. We are a couple of guys. Every Tuesday we are trying to do some wrestling, some MMA stuff, just for being in shape. I find that very. Also for the fighting skills, it's very interesting, and also just to keep myself. Because there's something to the to be able to fight with someone. It's just like getting stuff out of your system, frustration and everything. So it just helps me in a way to be a very balanced person, to be able to do boxing or to do wrestling or to do CrossFit, to be able to just to get in balance and to be as joyful as I can be. So workout for me is a way of therapy in some ways.
It sounds like you keep yourself in shape pretty much all the time anyway, but did you do anything workout wise getting ready for the role of Sigefrid?
I tried to gain a few pounds, yeah.
Okay.
Because I wanted him to be a little bit bigger. So I did a lot of weightlifting a couple of months before that because I wanted to gain a few pounds. Besides from that, no, I'm doing workout all my life. I said before, I've been doing martial arts, and it's just something that helps my mental state.
Yeah.
Because it's a very tiring. I mean, not tiring. It's I'm blessed to be an actor, but it's also like the frustration, the waiting, and you need to get that out of your system in some ways. And I find that CrossFit and boxing help me do that, to be in a mental state, in a good mental state.
Very cool. Do you have any other favorite moments from being on The Last Kingdom?
It was an absolute joy doing it. It was, I mean, when I think about what I've done in my life, this is absolutely one of the top 5 things I've done.
Cool.
Because of the people I was able to work with there, such an inspiring team, the co-actors and the crew and the directors. It was just like absolute blessing to be a part of. So I can't really pick one moment out. I really like the moment in episode 6 with Christian, the brother, with the scene we talked about prior, because that was the very thing. That was a moment, and the moment in the ending with "It Will Be Today."
Okay, cool.
But apart from that, it was just like being around all those people for 6 months. It was like absolutely amazing thing.
It seems like everybody on the cast is like tight and it just really seems like a big family from what we can tell from the outside. So which is really cool to see for the fans of the show. It's really cool to see.
But also because it's shot in Budapest. I mean, we're all foreigners in Budapest, and we're all. I mean, I'm from Sweden. There were some Norwegian guys, Denmark, and the guys from the UK. So we just had each other, you know. So we had to go out and have dinner, and it just put us all together in a good way, I think. Yeah. Otherwise, if you shoot in Sweden, everyone goes home at the end of the day. And just like, hi, bye-bye. But we needed to be together. We stayed at the same hotels, and it's just like, dude, what are you going to do? Oh, yeah. So I think that helped us a lot as well, to be that kind of cast, just like, who knew each other. So when we worked, it was just like friends working.
Yeah, that's very cool. Have you kept up with The Last Kingdom after season 2?
I'm sorry to say I haven't. No,
okay.
I haven't. No, but I will.
Yeah.
I don't think they have it in Sweden, right? That's what we've heard. They don't have it on Netflix.
No, they don't. They just have 2 seasons nowadays. I mean, just 2 seasons. I don't know why. The Swedish Netflix are really, really slow. I don't know why. It took like, it was on Swedish, I mean, the second season was on Swedish Netflix, I think 2 years later than in the UK. So everything's really, really slow here. I don't know why. Just the way it is.
That's a bummer. Season 3 should hopefully be coming out there soon, at least.
Yeah, I hope so. Have you seen have you seen it all? You've seen season 4 as well, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it. I still think to us, season 2, though, as awesome as the rest of it is, season 2 still like has a very high place in our heart and is probably our top. And it's just such a unique story. It's such a unique story.
First half is Uhtred's story, and the second half really turns into the brothers' story. Yeah, it's like different.
And I think the books. I mean, I haven't read all the books, but I've read some of them. But I know people. I have friends who've read all the books, and they said it just keeps getting better and better because of the character. You know the character, and you know the. And I think in the second series, I think the thing with the brothers and Eric falling in love with the princess, it's absolutely beautiful writing from Bernard Cornwell. I mean, it's just beautiful writing.
It's brilliant. It is truly brilliant. Truly brilliant. So what other kind of goals do you have as an actor?
Right now, it is to make this show happen. Because that would be, that would be the most awesome thing in my life, to be able to work out a project all from the start, to have this character, to put it in a storyline, to just work it out. That would be, I'm just fingers crossed for that. But I mean, as an actor, you always want to work with complex characters, and whatever comes along, that is the most interesting thing to do. I don't have any dream projects.
No?
No, I don't, because I don't want to have dream projects. I just want every character which I approach to be the one who is, this is what I want to do. So if I'm having a dream project, I was just like, okay, I'm doing this, but I want to do that. So I'm just trying to make the next character the dream character. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
But the thing with the Enforcers, it's a different ball game, because that is an original idea which I started, and it would be awesome to have it made.
We'll be looking out. You know, if they do approve it, we'll definitely would want to check that out for sure. It sounds like a pretty
I'll keep you
awesome
posted, guys.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
Awesome.
We usually also ask our guests, is there anything that you really like to watch?
During the COVID thing, I've watched a lot of shows.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've watched everything on Netflix and HBO.
Oh, boy.
So I've just seen, I really like, I don't know if you've seen Patrick Melrose on HBO with Benedict Cumberbatch. Amazing story. I mean, heartbreaking story. I really recommend it. It's
okay,
about,
I'll check that.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what it's about.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's real drama.
Well, we love Benedict Cumberbatch, so we'll definitely check
he's really good. And then I watched the Last Dance on Netflix. About
what did you say?
The Last Dance. About the Chicago Bulls. About Michael Jordan. Amazing. So I've watched a lot of shows during these months. So there's a lot of I can pick a lot of the shows. Yeah. So I really appreciate it.
did you have any big movies or shows like growing up or something that helped inspire you to do what you're doing?
I was really fascinated the first time I saw Godfather.
Oh yeah,
because yeah, I thought that Al Pacino, the thing he did in that part was absolutely amazing. I don't know if it was like, now I want to be an actor, but I felt like, is this acting? Is this like, this is really, really got to me. Also the thing, which is funny when we talk about it with Eric, the thing when he kills his brother. Now, when we talk about it, it just like makes you think, wow, that is a combination between the Godfather and the
Michael Corleone right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But that was a true inspiration. That movie, and there was a Swedish play about a Swedish author, which inspired me, and that really got me started because it was about a father who was an alcoholic. I grew up in a home who was like that, and when I read that play, it was just like, this wasn't acting. This was just like life. And I was 17 years at the time, and this was just like, wow, I really want to do this. I really want to contribute to express those feelings, and just to, you asked me before what made me start it. I think maybe that play was the play to actually understand that acting is an occupation, and it could be as close to life as life itself.
Cool.
So,
now, have you done theater work too?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, but I've done some theater work. Yeah.
Cool. Another thing I noticed too is that you've gotten a little involved in the TikTok craze. I think maybe because of your daughter.
Yeah.
That was pretty. What do you think of TikTok?
She really works. She really puts me up to it, you know. She really, she's a sergeant doing that. You need to put the arm up there. You need to turn the head up there, you know. But it's fun. I mean, she loves it. She's on TikTok all the time. I'm just trying to be part of it as little as I can, though.
I think a lot of dads wouldn't do that, so I think you might win a Dad of the Year award for that one. So that's cool.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
It's been a great talk today with you, Bjorn. Anyone who's listening to this, you can check him out. We'll link his IMDb, his social media down below. But thank you again, Bjorn, for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
We appreciate it.
Pure fun.
Good. We're glad you enjoyed it. If you guys are following us, please follow and subscribe to the Screen Chronicles for more. And we had another great talk today with Bjorn, who plays Sigefrid from The Last Kingdom.
Stay safe.
Have a good one, everyone.